I'm Kelly Clement. I'm the documentary programmer for the 2020 Mill Valley Film Festival. And I want to thank you all for coming out for us and turning out for the festival in this very unusual year that we find ourselves in. And I'd like to start off by introducing Claudia Sparrow. She's the director of Maxima. And welcome, Claudia. Thank you for joining us at the Mill Valley Film Festival.
Of course. Thank you, Kelly. We are so thrilled.
Yeah. Your film has been getting a lot of attention. Winning the Audience Award, the Best Documentary at the prestigious Hot Docs Documentary Film Festival in Canada.
Thank you.
Also, another Audience Award at the Lima Latin American Film Festival and at the Palm Springs International Film Festival. I guess audiences love this film.
Yes, that has been really incredibly moving. It's something you never know. We obviously, my team and I were so incredibly moved by Maxima ever from the beginning, and obviously, again, we've put our hearts in making the film and telling her story, and then we just had no idea how people were going to react. And obviously, to see audiences love the film so much in hot dogs, and then all over the world, it's been really, really, really inspiring and the most beautiful experience. I just have no other way to say it. She's such an amazing character. She deserves all the support.
Yeah, well, it's one of the most powerful and thought-provoking documentaries I've seen in a long while, and it's one that's guaranteed to generate a lot of discussion out there in the world. And very deserving.
Thank you. Yes, that definitely has been our goal. We're working towards that. Hopefully, it will inspire people to, just maybe look at our reality with different eyes, and and like you say, just inspire important discussions that are so important, more than ever right now. So that is.
Well, you've also won awards for your fiction films, like the feature I Remember You, which got theatrical release, and El Americano, which won the Emmy.
Right.
So how did you come to this film project? What set you off on a journey to make a documentary film?
That is actually very funny. I always say this, if you had asked me 3 years ago if I would ever make a documentary, I would have told you, no, I'll never really make one. No, because I don't love them. I just, it was never my focus, or, I never even considered going down that path. And of course, that all changed the minute I came across Máxima Acuña's story, which was back in 2016. She had just won the 2016 Environmental Goldman Prize Award, which is considered the Nobel Prize Award for environmental activists. And so I'm originally from Peru, so she's a Peruvian activist, and a Peruvian journalist had written a beautiful piece about her case, which I came across online. And when I read it, I was just, I literally couldn't sleep thinking of her story, of what she had been going through, her fight, also the abuse that she had been enduring for so long. I was just blown away. And more than anything, I was shocked that as a Peruvian who had been living in the US for so many years, had no idea that this was happening in Peru at the hands of a transnational corporation. So I just thought, I am a filmmaker, a Peruvian filmmaker. There's something there's something I probably can do to help. So originally I just thought maybe I'll do a short, something just to help give her voice a platform. And basically that's how it all started.
So you contacted her. What did she say?
Well, I contacted the journalist, who then put me in touch with her lawyer in Peru. And it was, I think, a 4-month back and forth, because understandably her lawyer, had to be very careful with anybody who approaches them and, vet you. And then she's also incredibly busy. She's a human rights lawyer with very little resources, fighting all these huge fights on a daily basis. So, just to find her, and she also, she lives in an area in Peru where it's a little bit remote. It's not Lima. So just to get in touch with her on the phone was like days and days and days. I was lucky if I could get her on the phone and then, talk to her. And so there was a lot of back and forth before she agreed she asked Maxima and her family, and they agreed that we could come visit to do a research trip. And again, we went with our minds open and just ready to just really see what it was like to be there. We had her side of the story, so we wanted to see, okay, what is it that we see, what we experience, and we'll document that. And that's basically, and we basically never stopped shooting because the story happened to start unfolding, especially the legal cases started unfolding right after.
Was it easy to get her and her family's trust?
No, it's actually something that we had to work. We basically were documenting them for about 3 years, and it definitely took time. Again, understandably, they've been through so much, and a lot of people that have come to them offering help or with what at first hand seemed like good intentions, and then they found out that no, that there were sometimes people coming to spy on them, or that then they were like just say things that turn the truth on them. So it was definitely a journey. It's we were very sensitive about that, and we just make sure to always be as open and communicative with them as possible. And I think the trust was something that was built organically.
Yeah. So it just took a lot of patience.
Yes.
Step by step.
For sure.
Yeah, that's so important. And go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that, there were moments that also they didn't want to be documented, and again, we had to be respectful of that. Maxima, I believe, like she obviously, she lives a very different lives. And so for her, a film itself might not mean much. So it was, I always had to talk to her and explain to her, like, what we were doing, what we were hoping to achieve. And and obviously she understood, but it was not something that clicked with her immediately.
Yeah. And I suppose she had a lot of news people also harassing her.
All the time. And it is exhausting, obviously, to have to relive her story every time. And for us, just documenting there, not every day, obviously, it was still like, it's so emotional. It takes a big toll on you. So I cannot even really imagine what they have to live still to this day on a daily basis. So they are just so incredibly strong.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
And you have a wide variety of other subjects in there, like the Earth Rights International and Oxfam, but one of the subjects that you follow is Maxima's lawyer, Mirtha Asquez, and she also becomes a star of the film. She's amazing.
She's amazing. She's amazing. She's like, I wish that one day I can make a documentary about her, because she's just an amazing human being. Like we really got to also follow her throughout the day, and she's a mom. She has young kids. She's a human rights activist, which in Peru, human rights activist lawyer. She basically defends environmental activists in Peru and human rights. And unfortunately in Peru, there is no support for environmental activists. So it equals her risking her life. And she's been doing this for like over, I think, 10 years, 15 years. And she works at the time she was working at an NGO. So, it's not like she's really making money, like she's just getting by while she also teaches at a public university. And then, it's like, I don't know. And she has such a positive attitude. And also such a beautiful mission. Like I don't think I've ever met somebody as committed as she is to, like, really putting all the noise aside, like politics and just people trying to get attention for the wrong reasons. She just wants to do her work, and she's really committed to fighting for human rights.
Yeah, she's amazing. And she's still working on the case.
She's still working on the case. She is great. I mean, this is kind of an update. Like, she's now a congresswoman in Peru. So obviously her role is different now at the NGO, but she's still involved and overseeing the case. But she has definitely been by Maxima's side all throughout.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I felt that this was a very suspenseful film. As you follow.
I cannot disagree. Yes, you never know what's going to happen because it's just,
Yeah. As you follow Maxima, I found myself wondering, oh man, can this get any worse? And, and then all of a sudden a success would come and I'd take a deep breath and
right
on to the next journey. How did you feel going through that? Did you at any time think of, oh, this film isn't going to work?
It at all times, like nothing in making the film has easy, like nothing has been easy, nothing. Obviously, I'm sure you're familiar with the challenge of just starting from financing a social documentary to then just the logistics of getting to her, because she, like I said, she happens to be in the Andes of Peru, on a very remote area in the Andes of Peru. So and then we have the challenge of the mining company getting on the way to getting to Maxima, because people maybe don't know much about the film at this point, but basically there's a mining company with a long national police have blocked all entrances to her house, to Maxima, the activist's house. So we never knew if we were actually, every time we traveled there, we never knew if we were actually going to get to her house. It was always a challenge. And then because there's no electricity where Maxima is, we have to bring equipment and hopefully enough batteries to get us through the shoot. So nothing was easy really in the process. And then obviously it's a very emotional journey, beautiful as well. And like you, we were also always like not knowing what was going to happen. So it was this roller coaster of like, great, there was this success, and now like what happens next? And we just follow her. I think that you cannot not be next to Maxima and not feel like incredibly inspired and just like see beauty, no matter what was going on, which is what is so remarkable about her.
Right. What size crew did you have?
Basic crew. Like it was, most of the times it was a DP, myself, and a sound person. We did have one shoot. It was like out of the 6 or 8 shoots that we did, there was one that was longer, and then we did have a bit of a larger crew. So we have a PA, a producer on location, and I think that was about it.
And you covered some of the confrontations with the police and the corporation security. Did you ever feel like you and your crew were in danger?
I think we were aware, we were aware that it was every time, that it was dangerous, because they obviously have a history of being abusive to the family. So we were with the family. And we were prepared for that. We were prepared for anything to happen, for them to stop us or detain us. Luckily, it never happened, but it was absolutely something that we were aware of. And I think actually it did not happen. The fact that we were a small crew actually helped. I don't think that we seemed threatening. I actually think that the fact that I'm a woman filmmaker actually in Peru, it helped, because it's a very chauvinist society. So they just, they probably never thought that I was, they never thought that I was doing anything other than taking pictures or something like that. So I think that helped.
Yeah. Well, this kind of aggressive harassment by mining and oil and gas corporations is obviously happening in many parts of the world, with U.S. companies manipulating local governments. And are things changing at all, do you think? Can they be challenged, these big corporations? And what can the average person do to hold them accountable?
So what we've learned, and I agree, unfortunately, what we've learned is that is the reality, that, Maxima is a unique person, but her fight, unfortunately, happens, similar fights happen all over the world. In this particular case, we only focus on this mining company. So I guess I can only speak of what we saw with them. What seemed to work with them in this case is PR. Like it ultimately, they really care about the public image that they have. Like if you were to go on this company's website, you're going to see how they go out of their way to mention that they respect communities, that they respect the environment, that they, meet all the regulations, international regulations on their operations. So going back to your point as to like, what can we do as individuals? A lot, because ultimately it's up to us to call them out, right? That is the thing that they seem to react to. So I think, for example, like right, for people who are interested, we have a petition on our website, stand-with-maxima.com, and we're hoping to get enough signatures so that we can deliver them in person, so that there is a way that they can see, we are seeing what you're doing, and you're not gonna get away with it. Like you have to stop this behavior, and then also. They have support. Like it's kind of like a network of support. Like they, you saw, we mentioned in the film, like how the World Bank is involved. And then there are also investors, companies that, invest in Newmont. And so, I think that we can, if we take a few minutes and just look at, okay, who is investing on these companies? Is my money invested in any of those companies? You can send them emails, you can contact them. I think those seem like small actions, but if we all do that, then it has a larger effect. So I want to believe that ultimately, and we're seeing that so much of that these days, which is beautiful, is like the power of the people. And Maxima is the best example, somebody who cannot read or write, and yet she managed to accomplish so much. And if we all can just do a little bit, whatever is in our hands, then I do think that it's, it can have a huge effect.
Hopefully. Thanks to you.
Yes. Thank you. I do believe that. I, especially after going through this experience, I think that is what is beautiful ultimately.
Yeah. Well, has Maxima and her family seen the film?
They have. So we premiered at Hot Dogs last year, and we were able to fly Maxima and Mirta to the premiere. So that was so beautiful, of course. And it was a very emotional experience for Maxima, because she obviously had to relive her journey. And she told me, she was literally crying, throughout it. And I was so worried, and she told me that, it was just the pain of reliving that. But at the same time, she understood the importance of it, because now she saw how many people knew her story, and all the support that she's got since then. It has been, I think she's also been really moved and inspired by it.
Wonderful.
Yes, it's really been an amazing experience.
So I guess me and everybody else who's seeing this now is wondering, where do things stand now? We know that Yanacocha has started a civil suit that could last for 10 years.
Yeah.
And Newmont has become the world's largest producer of gold.
Yes.
So where are we?
So the appeal was rejected. So from the court in Pennsylvania, again, but they have her lawyers in DC have filed another appeal with a lot more evidence. Basically the judges, and again, I'm sorry, I'm not a lawyer, so I'm just going to try my best to explain the legal situation. But basically, one of the judges' argument in ruling, siding with the company, was that there wasn't enough evidence of corruption in Peru. Now, you have to, probably not many people know, but our Congress, the Peruvian Congress, was literally dissolved a few months ago out of all the corruption that it had for years and years. So that actually her team is hoping will serve as the biggest example of like, oh no, this is how corrupt it is. And, we all we can do is hope that the judge will take that into account, and that they will decide to carry trial in the U.S. That would be a really important victory, I think, for what we were discussing earlier. Like, you know, transnationals need to know that they just cannot get away with, you know, human rights abuses and environmental abuses. It's just not, we're not going to let that happen.
Yeah. Well, have you gotten any blowback from Newmont, you personally?
No. You know, yeah, we obviously, you know, they have a right to a response and a reaction. We haven't heard anything yet, so you know, we'll see if they decide to talk to us at some point.
Yeah. Well, what's next? What are your next projects?
Well, a mix of both. I was actually working more on fiction projects, back to fiction projects, but of course, you know, the reality of our times have forced me to pause them. But you know, it's also been, I think, beautiful because now I am now developing another documentary project that I really hope can happen. It will be great timing, so I'm just pushing on that. It's a wonderful subject.
Oh, great. Well, I've got my fingers crossed. I'm
Thank you.
See it and host it for another Mill Valley Film Festival.
Right. Right. That would be so beautiful. Yes, that would be great.
Well, thank you so much, Claudia.
Of course, Kelly. Thank you for having me.
Really showing this film.
Thank you. I am really so excited to share with your audience, so cannot wait to see what they think.
Yeah. Okay. Adios.
Adiós. Gracias.